As my husband and I stepped out of the car, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law eagerly approached him. "Hey Matthew, what's with this car? It's amazing. I'm glad you finally decided to live on our side of society. But still, it's a bold move to buy such a luxury car out of the blue," my sister-in-law remarked. My husband chuckled and replied, "This is not my car, it's Nanny's father's car." "What?" my mother-in-law and sister-in-law exclaimed simultaneously. As my parents got out of the car, my in-laws were absolutely stunned when they saw them dressed so elegantly. "What an expensive-looking suit, and I've seen that outfit before. It's such a high-end brand. Why are Nanny's parents wearing such expensive stuff?" "My name is Nancy, a 28-year-old office worker, and I married my husband Matthew last year. My husband has always been kind to me since we started dating, taking good care of me. We share household chores because we both work. Despite my husband having lived alone for a long time and being proficient at house chores, he's also a better cook than I am. Depending on what we cook, we support each other and live a very happy life. However, there are people who stand in the way of our happy married life, my in-laws. They assume I'm poor and say whatever they want to bully me." "Why do they assume that I'm poor?" "Perhaps it was because of the dinner party where we greeted each other's families before our marriage." My in-laws consist of my parents-in-law, sister-in-law, and my husband. My father-in-law was a banker and reasonably wealthy. Everything he wears has a brand name, and they seem to think that wearing expensive things is a status symbol. Interestingly, my husband is the only one in the family who isn't interested in such things. He buys second-hand clothes online and wears them proudly, often believing they're worth more than their original price. When I met my in-laws for the first time, they had personalities and tastes that I couldn't imagine from my husband. I even wondered if my husband was adopted. It seems that the reason why he lived alone for so long was that he didn't share the same values as the rest of his family members. He began living alone as soon as he entered college because they believed that being wealthy equated to justice. When they met me and my parents for the first time, I had a very negative impression of them. My father runs a small factory, and as soon as they found out, my in-laws and sister-in-law made fun of him, saying, "He runs a factory. Well, a president of a factory with a name I've never heard of must surely be poor. A big bank where I work would never give him a loan." Their abusive remarks left a sour taste, even though it was our first meeting. I questioned the character of my in-laws. I would have been furious if my husband hadn't apologized to me in advance. My parents had also been briefed by my husband on the situation, so they remained calm, even when my in-laws made fun of us. "Well, it's true that we run a small business, but thankfully, we're able to continue working and pay our employees' salaries," my father responded calmly. "I wonder how many employees you have," one of them sneered. "Oh, by the way, I heard Nancy has an older brother," another chimed in. "Our son is working today. He can't join us," my father explained. "Is he on a business trip or something?" "Does your brother work for a decent company?" they mocked. "Our son works for my company," my father stated proudly. When he said that, my in-laws laughed in unison. "You mean it's a family business? A family that can't even take a day off must not be running the business very well," they taunted. They continued saying terrible things about my family. My husband repeatedly told them to stop, but they wouldn't listen. Eventually, my husband forced them to leave. This incident tarnished my image of my in-laws, especially as they made fun of my family too. To be honest, some people might have canceled the marriage after such an incident, but I love my husband more than that. So I decided to marry him as long as I didn't have to deal with my in-laws. We could live peacefully and happily. In fact, my husband doesn't like his family much either, and I was quite angry at them for making fun of my family. So we avoided going to my in-laws unless absolutely necessary. However, about a year after we got married, they started to force us to get involved with them. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law came to our house often, saying whatever they pleased. "Matthew doesn't come home at all. It just means she's trying to stop him from going," they speculated. I'm sure she's jealous of our lives. One of them remarked. Well, I don't blame you. We have a different standard of living than the poor, but I hope you'll at least have a baby soon. If you don't produce an heir, she's really just a scumbag wife who wants to make a fortune, they said nastily. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were there for a short time from when I came home from work until my husband came home. I usually arrived home early because my job allowed me to leave on time, but my husband often had to work overtime. So he usually gets home a little before 9 p.m. So, within about 3 hours, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law would come over to pick on me. Matthew works for a good company. You should live in a nicer house, they would comment. My husband, and I think it's big enough for us, I would reply. So, not your husband, but you, right? Don't impose your values on Matthew, they'd retort. There's a lot of plain stuff in the fridge. Don't look in the fridge without permission. You don't have caviar, they'd sneer. Fine, we don't have anything like that, I'd reply. Oh, it's so boring. Why did Matthew marry this woman? A poor, well-seeking, boring woman is a rarity, they'd mock. You could say that, but if you try to touch your money even a little bit, you'll be sorry. It will erase you from society, they'd threaten. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law would make fun of me, threaten me, ridicule me, and then leave. I would talk to my husband about it, and he would scold them. But they continued to come over without showing any sign of remorse. They ambushed me at my apartment when I came home. I felt depressed every time I came home. How on earth could they get tired of picking on me? But my mother-in-law and sister-in-law kept trying to belittle me. I had a mental breakdown. I tried to pass the time at a cafe until my husband finished work, then I would go home with him. When my mother-in-law and sister-in-law saw me coming home with my husband, they said, "You're like a pest, taking away Matthew's freedom like that." It was actually more disgusting that they waited outside for 3 hours and tried to antagonize me. My husband was so disgusted that he even went so far as to ask my father-in-law for help. My husband talked to my father-in-law, but he was just like my mother-in-law. He said that a poor wife is a rarity for them. If things continued as they were, our marriage would be threatened. I decided to use the L resort. I know it's not something I'm very fond of doing, but my in-laws have made me angry, so I will not relent. A few days later, my husband and I went to visit my in-laws. They were overjoyed when we informed them that my husband was taking his wife home with him. I was horrified to hear my mother-in-law saying, "I'm so happy to see Nancy for the first time in a long time. I don't know what kind of fun it is to be a wife-beater." And then we went to my in-laws' house for the weekend. When we'd arrived at my in-laws' house by car, my in-laws rushed out of the house and excitedly asked my husband, "Hey, Matthew, what's with this car? It's amazing. I'm glad you finally decided to live on our side of society. But still, it's a bold move to buy such a luxury car out of the blue, isn't it?" My husband chuckled and said to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, "This is not my car. It's just Nancy's father's car. What's with this car? It's amazing. I'm glad you finally decided to live on our side of society. But still, it's a bold move to buy such a luxury car out of the blue," my mother-in-law and sister-in-law exclaimed simultaneously. Then, as my parents got out of the car, my in-laws were absolutely stunned when they saw the two of them dressed like that. What an expensive-looking suit, and I've seen that outfit before. It's such a high-end brand. Why are her parents wearing such expensive stuff? They marveled. Finally, my brother emerged from the car, standing tall and handsome, wearing the same high-end brown suit as my father. "Who is that handsome guy? Nice to meet you. My name is Finn, Nanny's brother." He introduced himself. My in-laws were frozen in amazement at my family, which was completely different from the last time they saw me. Seeing this, my husband exclaimed, "What the hell are you doing?" He urged them to quickly show my family around the house. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law hurriedly invited my family into the house, showing them into the living room, and said, "We'll have tea ready for you right away." Their attitude was the complete opposite. The in-laws were very curious and asked my parents, "How are you able to wear such luxury items? So ridiculous." My father explained, "My factory is a small one, but the parts we make are the only pattern in the world. We receive orders from large Japanese companies as well as foreign companies." This answer made the members of my in-laws' faces turn blue. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law started to be nice to me, while my father-in-law remained silent the whole time. My sister-in-law was particularly interested in my brother and talked to him a lot. "What kind of work do you do at your father's company?" she inquired. "I've always been good at English. I'm currently in charge of organizing business meetings with overseas companies, so I spend half of the year abroad," my brother explained. "That's very cool." "Are you single, Finn?" she flirted. "No, I'm married," he replied. "That's too bad. But I think I'm a better match for you than your wife. What do you think? If you're interested, why don't we go out for dinner?" she boldly propositioned. To be honest, I was impressed by her mental strength and audacity, but I was also determined to let her face the consequences of her actions right then and there. My brother looked at me and nodded in agreement. "Are you kidding me, Finn? You're a funny girl. I mean, are you seriously saying that you're more desirable than my wife?" "My wife is a former model, highly educated, and the daughter of the president of a famous company. You're lower than her," my brother countered firmly. "No matter how you look at it, it's funny how half-rich people miss just their position, isn't it? I don't say anything bad about you, so you should know your size and follow a solid path." My brother's words struck a chord. My sister-in-law was in a groggy state, on the verge of fainting. She was so shocked that she could no longer speak. Finally, my father turned to my stepfamily. "I don't really care how wealthy the other family is. Money is certainly important, but you can't measure a person's worth by money alone. Let's be human and not be obsessed with money. I'm sorry we were a little mean to you today." My father bowed his head in apology. My family-in-law was completely horrified and apologized profusely. Since then, my family-in-law has never tried to bully me. In fact, they regularly contact me to flatter me. It's a bit bothersome that they contact me so often. By the way, neither my parents nor my brother are the kind of people who dress up in luxury brands and brag about their wealth. They just cooperated with my plan this time. My father likes to wear a suit he has had for a long time, even if it's cheap. He's not interested in luxury. My brother is very kind and doesn't make fun of people. That's why his wife's father likes him so much. He even asked my brother to take over the company because he's a better heir than his eldest son. I'm sorry I put my family through something they're not used to. Everyone was extremely tired on the way home. Thus, I was able to return to a peaceful married life with my husband. I have not visited my in-laws since then, but my husband visits them at least during Thanksgiving and Christmas. After that event, my in-laws changed their ways. They seem to have lost confidence, or maybe they just repented themselves. They don't brag about being rich like they used to. My husband even says that he feels most comfortable with them now. Well, I'm not sure if they'll go back to their old ways again. For now, I'm just glad that the problem has been successfully resolved. I will continue to take care of my husband and my family. I'll try to live my life with a sense of modesty. They thought they were mounting up, but actually, the other family member made money many times more than they did. The in-laws should be ashamed of themselves. I would feel like a small person if I keep trying to mount the poor. I don't think the view which people would do such a thing. I think it's good that you were able to give your family-in-law a good scolding. I hope you will continue to live every day with your family in good harmony.